For the past 5 years, I've been focused on finding the answer to one single question. What if Africa can help feed the world? What if the future of food can be found in ancient grains? Let me explain. For me, the story begins with visits to my grandparents as a kid. At their home, they ate a grain called fonio, which we didn't have in Dakar, where I grew up. So I vividly remember the times I encountered this nutty, earthy flavor as a kid. But as I grew up and I moved out of the country, I ended up going decades without tasting fonio again. Until 2015-16, when I was back in Senegal doing research for my cookbook. I was on that trip that I learned that fonio's flavor is just one of the many aspects, of many reasons why it's known as a miracle grain. It turns out fonio is also full of nutrients, fiber, protein. It's easy to digest. It's gluten-free. And with 5 millennia of history, it's resilient. That's why they call it hungry rice. Because when drought makes it difficult to cultivate other crops, fonio still shows up year after year, feeding millions. And in the process, it actually enriches the soil where it grows, giving nutrients back to the earth. Fonio is an extraordinary food. But I quickly realized that outside of the Sahel region of Africa, most people don't know what it was. And because of customs restrictions, I wasn't even allowed to bring it back to the United States, at least not legally. Sometimes guard dogs would sniff it out of my suitcase. Other times, well, I don't want to incriminate myself, but let's just say that I cooked some good dinners after those trips. And over the following years, my conversations with small fonio farmers made me even more inspired to introduce their miracle grain to the rest of the world. Because they explained to me, greater global demand for fonio would mean more economic opportunity for them, environmental sustainability, and food security for their communities. It was time to make fonio famous. So I started working with some of the most talented people in the world to brand, package, and sell it. And now we've come up with a value chain solution from processing fonio in Africa to selling cool fonio chips, pilafs, flour, and cereals across the United States, and soon around the world, in Africa, of course. And then it's a rare win-win-win. A win for the small farmers who have witnessed an economic boom. A win for diners who are finally adding more diverse grains to their diet. And a win for the earth, strengthening our soil and combating climate change. Thank you. And the story of fonio is just the beginning. Across the world, and in particular the continent of Africa, which has more arable land than anywhere else, there are other miracle crops. Some you may have heard of: sorghum, millet. Others you probably haven't, like bambara bean, which looks and tastes like peanut without the allergies. Watch out, Skippy. These crops are all different, but they share some things in common. They stood the test of time. They are an economic engine for the communities where they are cultivated. And they can help us achieve so many of the sustainable development goals that bring us together today, from ending hunger to promoting sustainability. By investing in the solutions in our soil and the small farmers who will help us pave the way toward a more resilient future, they are really are miracles. But here's the thing about miracles: they don't happen on their own. You need to make them happen. And in the case of ancient grains, that starts with getting the word out to drum up demand. And that's where you come in. Are you ready to help me make fonio famous?